Have you ever been caught in a panic attack that seemed to come out of nowhere, leaving you feeling trapped, overwhelmed, and desperate to escape? Maybe it happened in the grocery store or at a meeting or even in your own home. One second, you're fine, and then the next, your heart's pounding, your chest is tight, and you're sure something terrible is about to happen. Now, if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Panic attacks can feel impossible to control. But today, I'm going to show you exactly how to break the cycle of panic so that you can regain control of your life. Hello, my name is Kimberly Quinlan. This is Theo, and I am a licensed anxiety specialist. You're listening to Your Anxiety Toolkit, where you'll learn exactly how to manage and overcome anxiety using the same science-based, compassion-focused strategies and tools that I use with my one-on-one clients. If you're new here, welcome. I am so excited to spend some time with you today. So let's go. Today, we're talking about tackling a super important topic, which is how to break the panic cycle. Panic attacks can be terrifying, leaving you completely feeling out of control. But here is the thing. Panic attacks are not dangerous. They are incredibly uncomfortable, but they won't hurt you. So let's break down what actually happens in a panic cycle. The panic cycle usually starts with a trigger. Maybe it's a physical sensation like a racing heart or a thought like, what if I have a panic attack right now? Once this trigger is activated, it sends your body into what we call fight or flight mode. And before you know it, your anxiety has skyrocketed. When your body feels this surge of adrenaline or cortisol, it's going to then produce intense physical sensations, such as a racing heart, sweating, dizziness, maybe chest tightness, nausea, shortness of breath, numbness or tingling in your hands or feet, shaking, hot or cold flashes, or even a sense of derealization where everything feels unreal or dreamlike. These physical sensations can be really scary. They often lead to what we call catastrophic thinking, like, what if I'm having a heart attack? Or what if I lose control of my body? And in some cases, you might even have thoughts telling yourself that this panic attack will cause you to die. Now, these thoughts then ramp up your anxiety even more, and it creates a vicious loop where the physical sensations feed into your anxious thoughts, and then those thoughts make the sensations feel even stronger. As the anxiety increases, it often leads to a panic attack. And at this stage, the fear and the sensations are so overwhelming that you feel desperate to escape, make it stop. These are what we call safety behaviors. Safety behaviors are actions you take in the moment to avoid, escape, or reduce the panic. These could include leaving the place where the panic started, sitting down, maybe distracting yourself with your phone, or even specific breathing techniques that you believe will stop the panic from getting worse. This is very, very common. And while these behaviors might give you temporary relief, they actually reinforce the panic cycle because they send a message to your brain that the situation or the sensations are dangerous. Your brain then learns, hey, I survived because I left or distracted myself. This place must be dangerous. And so next time when you face a similar situation or the similar thoughts, again, your body will react with even more anxiety because it started to believe that you need to escape to be safe. And bam, you're back at the start of the panic cycle, just waiting for it to happen all over again. Now, this is why breaking the cycle is so important. Most people try to break the cycle by trying to stop them from coming. It makes sense. You'd want to avoid this feeling of panic. But what if I told you that trying to control or prevent a panic attack actually makes the cycle stronger? When we respond to early signs of panic by trying to make them go away, we are teaching our brain that the sensations are dangerous and they must be avoided at all costs. Now, the solution isn't to try and control the onset of a panic attack, but to change how you respond to it. By staying in the situation and not resisting the panic attack, you teach your brain that while the panic is uncomfortable, it's not dangerous and you don't need to run. Instead of bracing yourself or running away or doing something to prevent the panic, we want to break the panic cycle by responding with acceptance, compassion, and willingness. Now, this might sound strange, but responding to panic with kindness and willingness to ride out the discomfort actually sends a message to your brain that the sensations are safe and manageable. And that's where true healing begins. Here's the good news. I have seen hundreds of people in my office break this cycle by using these exact skills. Now, I get it. It's going to take some practice, but with the right tools and the right mindset, you can interrupt that panic cycle by starting to reduce your fear of panic. So here are some steps I want you to use. I personally use them when I'm having panic attacks. And these are all science-backed strategies. So I hope you find them as helpful as I have or my clients have. Step 1, identify the trigger. The first step is to identify the specific triggers that you have. They might be external, like a crowded place or a person or a specific situation. Or they may be internal, like a catastrophic thought or a specific sensation, like the feeling of your heart beating faster. Take a moment to ask yourself, what usually sets off my panic attacks? Now, a word of caution, if you've already spent oodles of time trying to figure out why you have panic attacks, and you've spent hours ruminating over the quote unquote underlying causes or the core fear, it's okay to skip this step. Sometimes there is no trigger. Sometimes panic just comes for no reason and we'll never understand. Your job is to allow it to be uncertain and move forward with these other steps. Now, practice self-compassion as you go here. It's going to be key. Rather than criticizing yourself for having these reactions, try saying, it's okay that I have these fears. Many people experience panic and I'm doing my best to manage them effectively. This self-understanding will help reduce any shame or frustration that may come up. Step 2 is to challenge catastrophic thoughts. When panic starts to set in, your brain will almost always jump to the worst case scenario. It might say, I'm going to pass out, or this is going to last forever, or I'll never be able to do A, B, and C again without panicking. But here's a tip. Try to fact check these thoughts with kindness. Ask yourself, have I ever actually fainted during a panic attack? Or even if I did faint, is this something I could navigate successfully? Or maybe explore, what evidence do I have that this will last forever? Now, the truth is, we have no evidence. Panic comes and goes. It never lasts forever. Most of the time, our catastrophic thoughts have no basis in reality. And by challenging these thoughts, you take away some of their power. Now, another thing to consider here is if challenging your thoughts feels like a total waste of time, that's okay too. Some people respond really well to challenging their thoughts. However, others find that it doesn't help at all. They already know their thoughts are irrational and trying to correct them doesn't really land. It doesn't change anything, and that's okay too. Everyone's recovery is different. Different skills work for different people. And if you find it's becoming compulsive, leave it alone. The good news is that you're exploring what does work for you. And this is really great progress. Either way, just remind yourself it's normal to have these thoughts when I'm scared or when I'm panicking. I'm going to go and approach them with kindness and not meanness. Now, step 3 is to practice mindfulness. Once you've identified your trigger and you're starting to notice these catastrophic thoughts, it's time to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the skill of staying present and observing what is happening without judgment. Instead of trying to push away thoughts like, what if I have a heart attack, or I can't handle this, allow yourself to notice the thought and label it as just that, a thought, not a fact. For example, when you notice a catastrophic thought, you might say to yourself, I'm having the thought that I'm in danger, but that doesn't mean it's true. Gently acknowledging the thought and then bringing your attention back to the present, this is going to be a small act of non-judgment, and it's going to be a small act of self-kindness because it allows you to connect with the humanness of this without needing to control every thought and every feeling. Now remember, mindfulness involves non-judgment. This means not judging the experience of panic as quote unquote bad or horrible. Every time you tell yourself this is bad, you're actually fueling the panic attack. Every time you say this is the worst, you're reinforcing the panic cycle. To break the panic cycle, you have to respond to a panic attack and the panic sensations with neutrality. This is uncomfortable, or I'm noticing my heart rate increasing or decreasing. I'm noticing that I'm starting to sweat. These are simply identifying the sensations without adding negative narrative to the experience. And this is a very important skill that will be so crucial for you to master. For me, I find it's helpful to say, oh, hi, panic attack. I notice you're here again. You being here is just another opportunity for me to practice being gentle and kind and not judge you as bad so that I can learn to create safety in my own body when it's anxious. Now, step number 4 is the important one, ride the wave of panic. This is the hardest part, but also the most important. Allowing a panic attack to come and go without trying to stop it is key. Imagine the panic attack as like a wave. Your job is to ride the wave and let it pass on its own. Panic attacks never last forever. So your job is to say, this is a wave, it will pass. And remind yourself that staying on the wave is an act of courage and kindness because you're teaching your body that you're capable of tolerating discomfort. I once had a client who told me that they used to spend all the time doing 15, 17 things trying to get the panic to go away. But then they said the best trick was literally to do nothing at all. Just let it do its thing and don't interfere. And this is the best advice I could probably give you to help you break the panic cycle. Step 5 is the last step, and it is to avoid safety behaviors. As mentioned before, safety behaviors are things we do to try and stop the panic, like leaving the room, taking deep breaths, or grabbing our phone to distract ourselves. Now, while these behaviors do provide short-term relief, they keep the panic cycle alive. One of the most common safety behaviors is physically leaving the situation where the panic started, like leaving a store, leaving a crowded place, or wherever you happen to be. But it's so important that you understand that when we leave, we teach our brain that the place itself is dangerous, which keeps you stuck in the cycle. So instead, we want to try and stay where you are. Remind yourself that the sensations you're experiencing are uncomfortable, but not dangerous. Sit with the discomfort. Let the panic rise and fall. This is actually a tremendous act of self-compassion towards yourself because you're giving your brain a chance to learn that you can handle it and you don't need to run to be safe. Remember, Breaking the cycle of panic takes time, patience, and a whole lot of self-compassion. Be gentle with yourself as you learn these skills. Facing your fears is one of the bravest, most loving things you can do for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. You're showing up for yourself, and that is such a beautiful thing. So that's it. That's how you break the panic cycle. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I know how valuable your time is, so thank you. And remember, today is a beautiful day to do hard things.